We're live. 911. Yeah. I'd like to report an assault. Yes, BetMGM assaulted me at my house today. Bodily harm. Well, I haven't talked to my wife yet. Yeah. But BetMGM absolutely. Yeah, BetMGM is the app. Yep, it's the app. Okay. I'm on a live stream. I can tell you the address, but it should pull up. All right. Get here quick. I got today was a bad day for your boy as far as I feel like I was on the right side of a lot of stuff. I'm not going to talk about gambling the whole time, but it felt like everything that went wrong for me could have went wrong. And I'm actually not upset that it went wrong in the early slate because I gave out Rams catching 3.5 points. That was absolutely the right side. Like Eagles could have just made that field goal. We all could have gone, or could have blocked the field goal. Eagles could have just fell on the football. Jordan Davis didn't have to pick it up and show off. Ripped my heart out, but I'm so happy the Birds got to win. That's just like ultimate headlock there. Yeah, so we'll talk about the Eagles and the Rams first. Okay, and there's a lot to talk about in that game. That was the game of the week, right? And it was so sloppy. It was a tale of two halves. If both of those teams had played 4 quarters of football, I think we would have still been looking at a game that came down to the wire, but they didn't. And in the words of James from Philly, who hit our hotline last week, the Eagles continue to half-ass dominate. The Rams fall to 107-2 since 1984, playoffs included, after leading by 19-plus points. The only other loss came in 2014 to the Cowboys. Oh, my God. I was there. I don't even remember that game. I'm going to start this breakdown. I'm going to start this breakdown, and I'm going to make enemies of fan bases for both the Rams and the Eagles, 2 teams that I played for. This was the Chris Long Bowl right here, and here we go. Here's what I'm going to say. The tush push needs to be officiated properly. I love the tush push, but it has to be officiated properly. If for nothing else other than I don't want to hear everybody else having totally fucking valid complaints every week. As somebody who appreciates the play and thinks the Eagles run it differently than anybody else. So number 1, the tush push has to be officiated the right way. And number 2, the missed false start in the first quarter did not lose the Rams that game. That is not why the Rams lost that game. The Eagles won that game fair and square. The Rams lost this game because they did not put it away. They had every opportunity to beat the Eagles. You watch this matchup, it is as I suspected. The Rams gained some ground on the Eagles this offseason. And ultimately they squandered an awesome opportunity. And you look what happened in the late game here with San Francisco pulling it out and remaining undefeated somehow, top of the NFC West. The Rams blew a golden opportunity right there. And I have all the opportunities written down right here. I'm going to read them to you. In the first half, they left, you could argue, 12 points on the board. You had the holding call on Shelton, which made the touchdown comeback. That one's 4 points right off the bat. They're up they go up 13-7 in that scenario. That could be 17-7. Stafford just totally misses a speed out in the red zone. At that point, they go up 16-7, and then they go up 19-7 after Stafford misses on 3rd and 2 in the red zone again in the first half. So Stafford, who I think is a fantastic quarterback, just not himself in that first half, and then in the second half, obviously you're up 5. You get the Nakua taunt, which I didn't really think was the right call, but it went the Eagles' way. And the thing I hate about that is I felt like they got a little desperate. 3rd and 1, they go play action pass. Listen, I'm a fan of the free play when it works, but when it doesn't, I'll be the first one to second guess it. And a lot of coaches look at that 3rd and short as a free play. But in a game like that, I think it was really important to put those guys away and to move the sticks. And so they go for it all on 3rd and 1, and then 4th and 1. Limmer's in the game. Everybody, Rams fans know Limmer, and they run right behind him on 4th and 1. And that's just a cardinal sin. 3rd and 2nd in the red zone. They take a shot again, kind of wasteful to me. They go Reed Blankenship, Devontae Adams. You end up with the block field goal in that scenario. You're up 5 at that point. You're trying to make it an 8-point game. And then lastly, you didn't get close enough in 2 minutes. I mean, they got in plus territory and they took a shot outside the numbers. They just couldn't get quite close enough. And I think that's a cardinal sin, considering your field goal kicker just got blocked not 15, 20 minutes ago. And, it's kind of a line drive kick, and it happens again. Eagles make the play. So that part of it, the Rams lost the game in that way. Here's how the Eagles won the game. Okay, I thought the Eagles had a couple heroes in this game. Okay, number 1, special teams coach for the Eagles, offensive coordinator for the Eagles. They need to get A.J. Brown to the nicest steakhouse in Philly tonight and buy him fucking dinner, because he saved the day. The guy comes in, no touchdowns, not a lot of targets, and it felt like the whole thing flipped when the Eagles decided, hey, we're going to open things up. We kind of have to. We're down 3 scores. We have to do this. And they opened up the game throwing the ball in the second half. I think both teams were missing guys, man. Like the Eagles were missing Lane Johnson for much of the first half, and in the second half, obviously Pryor ends up getting beat by Jared Verse back up on the goal line there. And then for the Rams, missing Witherspoon, who broke his clavicle last week. It was clavicle. They could have used him. They were down a corner, and those corners just got picked on. They're just not strong enough to catch point for A.J. Brown. That last drive was heroic. That 3rd and 10 backed up where he just speed bumps Darius Williams at the sticks. He's just too fucking strong. Caught a ball on the right sideline. The play strength that he has is second to none in the NFL. And when you talk about like getting your offense out of trouble, there might be better receivers, but when you are stuck in the mud, there's probably nobody better than A.J. Brown. Jordan Davis, huge hero in this game. 3rd and 2, I see a big fella, pretty big fella, lost some weight, running down Stafford. 4th down, makes the stuff, blocks the field goal at the end, turns on the Jets. He hits 18 miles an hour. That's a fucking Kia. That is a Kia, dude, running down the field. So you got Zach Bond, who's a hero with that pick in the middle of the field. And then you can't talk about the Eagles today without talking about Jalen Hurts, in the first half. We're ready to dudes are going to be, they're going to be rioting in Philly if we come out of that game with the passing numbers looking the way they were looking. And I don't know if there's a tougher quarterback between the ears than Jalen Hurts in the NFL. That's what that second half shows me. His mental toughness is elite. Some absolute heroes for the Eagles. If being a tough team and being able to get yourself out of trouble and having a knack for making plays when it matters most is a skill, this is a Super Bowl team. But when you look at the team in their current form, I think it's totally fair to say I'm worried about them. It's a big win for them, but there are some worrisome things still going on. We're going to come out of this game and say, hey, Eagles are back, passing offense is back, that sort of thing, and I sure hope so. But now we've played three games of football, and we've seen one really good half throwing the football. And it kind of took getting down to snap them into form there. So I just think it was a gutsy win by the Eagles. The Rams had a ton of opportunities to win this game. And, when I said last week, I'm impressed with going into Arrowhead and winning that game, but beating the Chiefs at this juncture is not like an impressive feat. Beating the Rams is a big win. That's a big win. That's an NFC opponent. That's a team that was knocking on the door. And I'm seeing people in the chat shouting out Fred Johnson. Fred Johnson got some minutes there at the end of that game because Matt Pryor didn't work out for him out of the half. And, it's just another credit to Stoutland being in a situation like that. I still think the interior offensive line's banged up. You can't get the run game going. You lose a tackle. They look real pedestrian for a minute, but they find a way. So hopefully Lane's good. Haven't talked to him yet. Wouldn't tell you whatever he told me anyways. But just a big fucking win for the Philadelphia Eagles. And they're not all going to be pretty. We said that coming in this season. This is not the same team as last year, but it doesn't need to be. Whew. That was a wild one. Bouncing around the league a little bit before we get to Sunday night, which inevitably Chase Long is going to be, I think I'm going to bet the Chiefs, maybe the under, maybe some combination of the two. I had the over in the Dallas Cowboys Chicago Bears game, which, by the way, I told you last week, Caleb Williams looked fine. How did he look today for the people that told me he looked like shit last week? Since y'all know ball, how did he look today? I know it's the Dallas Cowboys, but I thought that was a triumphant performance by him against his old ball coach. Bears put it together. They get the win, but I had the over, and it was steaming over. And then Dak throws a pick. Was it pick in the end zone? Or no, it was downs in the end zone. They throw a fucking fade on third down. I wanted to leap through the TV and take back the game ball I gave Brian Schottenheimer last week. Just unbelievable. Did win the Arizona bet. That one was a wild ride. I mentioned San Francisco being number one in the NFC West, which is a wild thing. It's quite a feat right now. You see the Seattle Kubiak seemed to know the personnel in New Orleans pretty good. They had 35 points before the half. That was ugly. But the Niners showing a lot of resolve. Calais Campbell forces a safety late. He's the hero for the people that had Arizona plus 2.5. But they just couldn't get it done. I got to see more out of that quarterback. I think Arizona's got a good football team. I got to see more out of that quarterback and the pass catchers in Arizona. I just don't see it. I don't see it right now. Texans. We'll talk about them more tomorrow. Listen, the Texans offense, we might put the Texans on the grill tomorrow. And that pains me to say because I'm a big, Texans believer in the whole thing, but I might have seen enough 3 games into the season. Indianapolis looks like the class of the division. And, if the Texans were losing games and playing well, I'd say, hey, maybe they can get back in it. But they look like the same fucking team. Do you know the show 1883? Anybody out there in the chat watch 1883? I thought it was better than Yellowstone. Sam Elliott, Tim McGraw, others. If you're familiar with the show, I would liken a Texans touchdown drive to the plot of that show. It is legitimately like, we got to get to Wyoming by wintertime. That's their 2-minute drives. They're like, we got to hurry up. There's a storm coming. But they're losing people. One step forward, 2 steps back. The offensive line, they're like the Norwegians. Maybe C.J. Stroud, Sam Elliott at this point. He's seen enough. D'Amico Ryan's probably Tim McGraw. It's an ugly scene. It is an ugly fucking scene in Houston, and they are 0-3, and they're going to waste that defense. Honestly, I sat there and watched today, and this is not a compliment. Their team reminds me of my old teams when it was our defensive line, fierce defensive line, myself, Robert Quinn first, then myself, all the interior rushers we had, the depth we had, the physicality we played with, but we could not get it together offensively. The offensive line struggling, penalties, pre-snap, post-snap, everything. They're going to waste a very good defense in Houston. Jets, Bucks. How about the Bucks, man? How about the Jets? First off, making that a game, more special teams madness. Aaron Glenn giving us a gift that's going to keep giving, running up and down the sideline, doing the Merton Hanks. But the Bucks at this point in this young season have had to go earn it every game now at the end of the ball game. They've had to go win it offensively every game. That's going to be a hell of a game next week against the Eagles. Zach Taylor. Do I want to get into Zach Taylor right now? I have that written down on my sheet of paper, Zach Taylor. I think I need a night before I want to talk about Zach Taylor. But I don't know how much of one team you can see playing like this. I mean, I know they don't have Joe Burrow, but that was pathetic. absolutely pathetic. On the other side of things, Carson Wentz, was it Isaiah Rodgers had 2 touchdowns? Yep. Come on. I mean, just a former Eagle Bowl there with Carson Wentz getting the win. Good for him. Grew up a Minnesota fan. And if you're the Vikings, that looks more like it. I know the Cincinnati Bengals are, a shit show. But they did what they had to do in that spot. I thought defense was fantastic, opportunistic, the whole thing. Speaking of defenses, the Steelers, the Patriots between the ones are the best team in football. I mean, they almost scored 7 touchdowns today, but the Steelers come up with some big turnovers. Absolutely needed that. Sometimes forcing those turnovers can be the catalyst for a defense that hasn't played well. I want to look at the tape there. And then lastly, how about the Chargers, man? Very, very gutsy win. I was a little puckered up. I thought I had jinxed the Chargers jumping on the bandwagon this week. That was big for them. Just a huge win. You want to stack these wins while the Chiefs are figuring it out, because I do think the Chiefs will be back. And for the Chargers, the injuries are mounting. You come to this game without Khalil Mack. By the end of it, you're down half your offensive line. At one point, they go play pass, and Herbert has to look down, carry out the fake with Najee Harris on the ground, knowing he's exploded his Achilles. It was clear, non-contact. He was done. The resolve from this team to be able to take those punches certainly survived a few errant Bo Nix deep balls that Cowboy Reed's probably not real happy about. But it was like he overthrew the whole team. And when it mattered, Justin Herbert played like a top 5 quarterback. The throw to Keenan Allen to tie the ball game, the 2-minute drill to win the game. That's gutsy football. Do I think the Chargers have concerns as a result of these injuries? Absolutely. They're not going to be able to survive scoring 20 points a game or in that neighborhood all year long. But that was a gutsy win. They absolutely needed it. So just a wild slate. I personally didn't love the slate, I call back to that 911 call I made at the beginning of the live stream. That was a bad day for your boy. Special teams are big. Backup quarterbacks galore today. Washington pulls out a big win with a backup quarterback. I think everybody jumped on the Raiders probably after the Jaden Daniels news. But boy, am I glad I didn't get that Raiders plus 5.5 bet in when I had a feeling that Jaden might miss the next week. Those are the times that my ADHD pays off. I say, yeah, I'm going to bet the Raiders. And then I put my phone down for a second and I forget. And then it goes to 3. Okay. So just a wild day at the office. We got Chiefs Giants tonight. I think that should be a fun ball game. I'm really curious to see how the Chiefs fight out of this paper bag, man, that they're in. Maybe Worthy being back will be the key. We haven't really gotten a real look at what they're going to look like offensively, and we won't until Rashee Rice comes back. So I don't know, chat. That was fucking wild. That was wild. I look forward to tomorrow. What, 2:00? Is that when we start? Yeah. 2:00 live stream. Be there, be square. Big win for the Birds. And we'll see. Hey, I want to say this right now before tomorrow starts. Get your bets in on Detroit. I think they're going to win that football game tomorrow night. I think Detroit's going to win that football game tomorrow night. All right. Y'all take care. See you tomorrow.